Hey everyone, it's Wingspan TT, Chance Ravinne in game, and today I want to talk about the new probe scanning interface that's been added to EVE Online. Now if you watched my previous videos, you know that this is something that's near and dear to my heart as just an EVE player, as an explorer, and as a CSM member, because it's something that I really wanted to make sure it got done right. And in my opinion, the team at CCP has done an amazing job implementing changes from the community, from feedback, from everyone basically, to make a probe scanning system that's just way better than the new map had, and possibly in a lot of ways better than even the old probe scanning system that a lot of people just really liked. So let's go over some of the ways it works. I do get the impression a lot of people like it, but I also get the impression some people don't really understand how to use the new probe scanner, and therefore they may be overlooking some of its amazing potential. So starting off from the UI side, right now you'll see that the probe scanner has been changed from the last video I made when it was in beta. Now there's basically a single window instead of the map being part of it, and you press this button here to launch a solar system map, kind of like the original old, probe scanner back from, I guess 2 years ago or whatever. But what's different now, there's a couple of things that's different. First of all is that the probes, the actual probes here, can be expanded or contracted. And let me just decloak. I hate decloaking. I'm going to decloak and launch probes for your benefit. And you can see it's delicious skin on my Nemesis. I love it. Oh my god. And you'll see here that just as I had said in the beta window, originally it's like, oh, well, you can contract, that's cool and all, but really needs to be contracted down to one probe. Boom! Contracts down to one probe or 0 probes. And this is really all the information you need. You'll see that these buttons here of reconnect to lost probes and destroy probes have been minimized and pushed all the way to a little corner, so the odds of you accidentally clicking them are extremely low. And scan results are down here, and once again they can be pulled in or pulled out. But what's great is now that it's separated from the map, you can just keep this window open so that if new signatures are coming up in a system, you know the wormholes are opening or sites are spawning or whatever it is, and then you can just have a heads up there. And I'm just going to cloak back up now. There are hostile people in this system. So once your probes are launched, basically you can go in here into the solar system map, and a couple things to keep in mind about the solar system map. This map is separate from the new map. It's not going to contain the same kind of stuff that the star map contains, right? So you're only working with probe stuff in your solar system. And one thing I've definitely noticed is a lot of people getting hung up with the brackets in space, and you're trying to click on your probes here. It's very important to use these tools up here. So first of all, obviously close the map, dock the map. I have it full screen, which I personally like because I just like to have all the space, and it looks pretty, but you can dock it left or right or floating and move around like a window, whatever. We'll get to that in a second. Focus current location. Focus is on you. Great. But here are markers. You can show or hide the things in the system. For instance, you can turn moons on or off. And one thing is that, as a default, all these things are turned on. So people have scanner probes turned on, right? And then they go to move their probes, they're clicking on this by mistake, and they're like, God damn it, this thing sucks. There is no goddamn reason to have your scanner probes on, right? Just make them invisible, and then you can just move this box. Same thing, you don't really need the sun on. I mean, you know where the sun is. It's in the middle of the solar system. You're not really going to be clicking at it. You might already have sun in like a navigation tab or your default tab in your overview or something, so you don't need that. Just turn on the things that you need to turn on in order to get a sense of where you are in the system. So in my case, I have bookmarks and planets, and that's about it. So of course here, moving around, it works the same way as before. You can grab this thing, grab it over here, you can move it up and down, whatever. I personally like to kind of scan by looking completely top down and then moving this way. This is the most accurate thing if you want to align, essentially. Like I'm going to, let's say, go over XAO here. Move it directly over. You can click on it to center, and then what I do is move it sideways, so I've seen this axis, then move it down, blah, 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 blah. But here's the magic, guys. Here's the magic. First of all, I'm going to move it into pinpoints as 4AU. But one of the things that's been added with the new system, okay, oh, I see. It's probably over here actually somewhere. Let's probably see there. That was actually like a little bad click. It's probably over here somewhere. Is that there are now hotkeys for scanning with your probes and for increasing and decreasing your probe radius. So yes, you can still grab on the edge and do this, and you're like, oh, maybe I need 8AU, or maybe I need it like 2AU, and people are like, it's hard to grab. It's always been hard to grab, and now you can hold Alt down and you can do this. All right, that makes it easier. But this system is still stupid because it's really hard to gauge, the AU based on this. Yeah, you could turn your tactical. Okay, good luck. All right, yeah, all right. So what CCP did, what Goliath and his team did, which is friggin' amazing, they added hotkeys. So for instance, I bound it to 1 and 2. Boom, boom. Look at this. So now you're like, I'm at 4, I need 8. I need 2, I need 1, 0.5, 0.25. just like that, probe scanning gets magically faster. And of course, I've also bound a hotkey number 3 to scan, like you're sending a fax in the future. Okay, not a force auxiliary, but like an actual facsimile machine, and it scans. And what this means is that you can now scan faster than ever before with more accuracy, because okay, I already have this one scanned down, so I'm kind of cheating, because you just go here, shrink. You can now just move around really fast and scan things down without having to go like move, because look at this, like otherwise you're like, okay, let me grab this thing over here and move it, and then I'm going to go over here, and okay, I'm going to increase this, and I grab it and go the wrong size or something, and I'm going to, oh god, alright, I'll move it, and then I'm like, oh, I'm going to hit the analyze button. No, screw that. Now you could just be like, alright, I'm just going to move this here, drop it down to 4AU, and hit the scan button, and that's it. And that is it, without having to move your mouse at all. So you can use your mouse for fine positioning and moving your probes and aligning them and looking around, and then use your keyboard for all the fine-tuning stuff. So once again here, moving here, shrink it down, and scan. I'm not saying that I'm actually going to hit this, of course. I'm just trying to show you how the general system works. So the addition of hotkeys is huge. It is absolutely huge. It makes it way better than any other scanning system ever before, because it's just so much more accurate, so much faster. It slices, it dices, it makes wormholes in outer space. It's amazing. So what are some other features that have been added? Alright, so you see some UI features here. That's great. You know, all these buttons, you already know what they do. Custom formations and things like that. Recall your probes. Fine. The new D-scan has also been added. So let me just get out of here for a second. And what the new D-scan does is, alright, first of all, the most important thing is that you can bind a button to D-scan for you. I bound it to middle mouse, and you'll see here, there's also an animation that shows when you're actively D-scanning. So like before, when you're like, oh, I don't know if I can D-scan again, if it's cooled down or not yet. And you'll even see, like when you do stuff like adjust these ranges, it'll go through an animation. So you no longer have to play guessing games on whether or not you can D-scan. You know when you're currently D-scanning. And you can use this button, you can set to spacebar, you can set to pretty much anything. And you see here, I'm just like aligning this and checking it out to do your D-scans. That makes D-scans so much better in wormhole space, in any space really. Now what also has been added is that D-scan has been integrated into this map. So for instance, it used to be that, you know, like let's say you're probe scanning and you want to D-scan like this planet over here, and you're like, okay, but now I got to leave the probe scanner, align to this planet, you know, look at where it is, and okay, maybe I'm looking at the sun, and then adjust your angle. It's really annoying to go back and forth like that. And I'm in full screen mode, but this works in so what you could do here is turn your scan cone on, and trust me, the team knows that the red doesn't work. Red on red, they're gonna look at it. They've talked to me, they talked to everyone about this, they talked to the community. But anyway, this red line cone is your D-scan range. It's 14.3 AU. You see here, if you drop the range, the cone, in this case it's still sphere, gets smaller because it's set to 360. If you set it to 180 degrees or 90 degrees, alright, it shows you exactly what your D-scan does, right? But if you're like, okay, I've got my probes over here, my probes are picking up a signal over at this high sec hole, I wonder if there's anything over there. So what you can do is increase your range, right? Look at that, the range is just a high sec hole. You can hold down on the radial menu and hit directional scan, and your ship will turn to align to it. And now when you run D-scan, you're D-scanning directly at that bookmark. So this is why it's friggin' amazing. You could be like, I want to scan this planet. I want to do 5 degrees on this planet. Holy shit. Look at this. That's just amazing. Absolutely amazing. This changes everything. Your ship just turns towards it. You can see here, you have a new level of information interacting with the probe scanner and the D-scanner to get visual information quickly about where you're scanning, what you're doing. With the addition of all these hotkeys, the hotkey to probe scan, the hotkey to directional scan, and the hotkeys to change your probe radius, you can do this way faster than you ever could before. I'm not saying it's perfect. There's definitely things that need to get worked out. There's little UI things. Sometimes it's hard to grab stuff. But let's be honest, it was always hard to grab some of these little edges and stuff. But now you don't have to, because there's hotkeys. There's hotkeys. You don't have to do it anymore. So if you're asking yourself, Wingspan, how do I set this up myself? All right, fine. Probe scanner, D-scan. You get that. And that's the thing. People were complaining, oh, they moved the scan buttons over to the other sides. Who cares? There's hotkeys now. You'll never press these goddamn scan buttons ever again. Look, I just D-scanned and probe scanned without pressing a goddamn button. But if you want to know how to set this up, what you want to do is go in your options, And then in combat, yes, it's actually in the combat shortcuts menu. You want to go down here and here. Here they are. So refresh directional scan, you can bind to here. Refresh probe scan, you can bind to here. Increase probe scan range and decrease probe scan range are the relevant hotkeys that you want to set as a scanner. And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, if you go into the graphics options, something that was also added to EVE with this release is the ability to turn off camera bobbing. So you already knew what camera shake was. That was an option that's been in the game for a long time, to have camera shake on and off when your ship's getting hit or when you're warping. But what a lot of video makers asked me to bring CCP on the CSM was to turn off camera bobbing. You're like, I don't see what the big deal camera bobbing is. I'm going to show you. I'm going to zoom in real close. I'm going to align to this sun, right? I'm going to turn camera bobbing on. And what you can barely see, if you just look at the edges, let me uncloak so you can see. If you look at the edges of my ship, what you're going to see is that the camera's very slowly, like I'm going to place my cursor here, so you can see where the ship is in regards to my cursor. It's just moving this very slight wave-like bobbing motion, which maybe if you're very prone to motion sickness, this would bother you. Or like when we learned the FOV trick before, if you zoom in with the FOV, now you can see it a lot, right? You can see the camera bobbing. This bothered some people because of either motion sickness or because they're trying to make videos of certain things in EVE and the camera bobbing threw it off. One thing that's also of note is that if you turn camera bobbing on and you're using the high FOV, you start getting this because it's just the camera's not tracking very well. Well, anyway, I begged CCP to add an option here, turn camera bobbing off, and now with camera bobbing off, boom, boom. Okay, the flowers are still standing. Now, without camera bobbing on, you can look at anything you want. Yeah, it stutters for a second, but once it locks in, it's fine. Okay, and just in general, when you're in normal FOV, you'll just notice, like I'm going to place my cursor, there's no bobbing. This is great for video makers. This is good for anyone who just has problems with video games, just like getting a little queasy or anything like that. I'm really glad CCP added this to the game, and I'm really glad they added all the stuff in the game, hearing the feedback from the scanning community to improve D-scan and probe scanning with a lot of features people have been asking for years. Well, everyone, that's pretty much it for today. I'm Wingspan TT. Just want to go over those new features. I hope you like them. I hope you have a better understanding of them. If you have any feedback whatsoever, please post it in the official EVE forums or post it on this video, and I'll bring it to CCP to let them know how they can improve the scanning systems. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you'll come back next time. Cheers!